Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today's Friday, October the 31st. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Charts by the amazing TrendSpider and gamma flows from the equally impressive Manther Q. All right, so taking a look at where we are with price action, have a look at where the call wall is sitting as we stare at the E-mini S&Ps, well below us, 6,850, not shifting. I found this to be interesting. They tried to come down into the wall yesterday and bounced right above it. That's got traders who are short at this line scrambling, buying the index. Okay? And so when we see that, there's usually a reckoning. The reckoning comes from the rotation upward. Notice the big call resistance level is still up at 7,100. Or the rotation back downward into the gap. They were expecting fill of the gap based on the very hawkish note that the Fed took. I don't know if any of you read 42 Macro or Darius Dale. Great follow on Twitter. Very data structured analyst and just superior information that comes out of that spread. He was talking about the Fed in general, but interesting note. He confirms that liquidity is still rising underneath, so dips are going to be buy zones. All right, so that being said, that's our backdrop. What are we looking at? Initial gamma flows put us at this 6,900 level, and we're caught in the box that we created yesterday. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to run, oh, for goodness sakes, we're going to run that box. Let me make it the right size. Right? If we replicate it, we can see that we fell out of the box but came right into the gamma line. So this gamma line is very important, 6,850. What are we likely to see today? All right, let's clone it. Let's clone it first to the downside. That gives us 6,865. Love that bounce event, right? But if it comes here, wait until it recaptures the edge, and then you can go with the flow, okay? I don't know if anybody watched us on Top Step TV, but this failed bounce here, Jack was talking about this fade coming, and he had it pegged. We saw it occurring when we lost the edge and then bounced, but could not recover 6,890. That gave us continuation to the downside. Absolutely beautiful price action. But this kind of behavior is where you can think to yourself, wait a second, I failed. My inventory was up here. So if I'm returning to inventory and staying there, I must hold this line. And if I can't, I've got downside pressure. Put that one in your cap for memory. Okay, if we move to the upside, we've got 6,930 to the point of control, which is 6,937. And then value area high, 6,944. We are going to wait for a break here. Clear sideways pressure. Something is going to happen, right? Something's cooking. It's bullish from a momentum perspective, but holding the edge. So what do we want to do? We want to buy the dip. If it comes into 6,890, that's the logical buy zone. Remember, you're going to look for this kind of pressure that says, okay, I buy 6,890, 6,891. If it fails, it must return and get above this value area low at 6,895. Otherwise, it's going to continue down. Very clear roadmap here. Same thing above. If you're thinking about shorting, 6907 to 6911 is the shorting zone. If it comes back and it cannot get below this 6904, realize it's going to rotate up. All right? So that's what we're staring down. Upward pressure events, again, 6931 and above. Downward pressure events, 6881, 6865, and a revisit to the call wall at 6850. Below that, we literally have no inventory here because of a gap. All right? That gap event comes and takes out all the way down here is the edge of that gap. That's the gamma line 2, and that's 6,825. Let's take a look at the NQ. All right, NQ doing the same sort of thing. Above the call wall, right? Call wall is here at 26,150. Take a look at the monthly gamma wall. 26,000. That's 200 points below. And they're just sitting here. So notice what happens. When they break the line, the gamma flow lines, and they come down into the region that they need to stay in, and they begin to rise, look at how sharp the movement is outside of the range here. It tells us that they are buying the equities in order to shift their delta, meaning if I've sold a call, I'm short delta. If I am printing above the call, price action has positive flow, so I must buy the equities in order to leave this call wall sitting where it is, expecting that it's going to fade. Put wall well below, but still in the same place, 25,775. What is the trader event today? Take a look. They're caught in this box, and it's quite confined, right? It is a very nicely confined box. For goodness sakes. Come on, Fred. Let's get you doing the right thing. Here and here. All right. So the 0 DTE wall at 26,150 is really where they're buying, right? The flush below is all the way down to 26,125. And so you need to have at least 30 points of risk if you decide you're going to take the long here. All right? Same thing on the break, simply because it's caught inside of this box. So we would be looking for speed without distance if we're using that SMB term, which I really liked that video. You got to check it out. I've posted it in the streams for us so you can see that. All right, so this box above pushes us into a gamma line of 26,300, which is right about those flows right there. And then, of course, we've got 26,400 just above us. Sideways formations. I find this to be very interesting. Amazon just rocketed. Apple also had a good bounce. And yet, this isn't accelerated motion. And we have lower highs. So, is there a trend line break going on? Well, let's have a look, right? If we take, let's go here, right? If we stare this down, we can see that the trend break back below is 26,130, right? But you have to let it resolve. And so, bounce areas, if we get above 26,215, you can short that edge, but you're going to need, you're going to need about 30, 40 points of risk. Easy, right? Because you know how these things move. Anchored VWAP from several days past, this feels like a congestion zone at 26,250. So we could easily do that, but they are coiling for a break, and momentum tells us that potentially it is to the upside. Dips or buys. That would be the first direction I would go in, but if it loses this 26,125 area, and doesn't immediately recover it, step to the side and watch for either the failed breakup at the VWAP, 26,180, that does not hold, and then the return below for the trade downward. The point of control currently 26,050, and of course that call wall 26,000. Very interesting price action today. Range break, definitely going to tell the tale, expecting that it should be upside. Interesting note here, oil oil could, very interestingly, lose this ledge of support. Big news out of Chevron today is that even as oil prices fade, they are drilling and upping their output. So they're not really drilling. They're not the ones that drill per se, but they're going to their wildcatters and they're saying, do your deal, get it up out of the ground for us, and we'll take it to market. Well, that's a very interesting thing there, and I suspect it has negative flows attached to it. Now, what are we looking at? We're looking at resistance at 60.65, gamma line, call resistance, call walls, all the flows sitting at 6,100, put support at 5,950. So easily, if you're a futures options trader, these naked cells are, printing money for you for the day. Just make sure you take the edges properly and leg into them in the right way, as opposed to doing a naked strangle, which I would think would be a little bit troubling in terms of risk, right? So, are we building some sort of compression event? Yes. What's momentum telling us? It's mixed. What's the VWAP telling us? It's sideways. So within the pocket between 59.75 and 60.67, we've got this tighter flow at value area low at $60 and a penny, or $60 even, and $60.50. So a lot of money to be made in here. You got to be patient. Same thing, remember, soft commodities like these guys, they will force the trader into thinking there's a run up, and then the fade comes, and so be careful about those edges getting broken, but the trend still being in the box. All right, let's take a look at gold. Not really a soft commodity, but foods certainly would be the soft commodity, though I could argue that oil is soft. Anyway, here we are, taking a look at gold. Take a look. It broke the trend line yesterday that we had above 4,000. That gave us the buy point, right? That number came at about noon, and then we just went all the way up to the call wall at 4,050. Now we're back down. Put wall at 4,000. We're trapped in this wide range of inventory accumulation. Notice between that 4,050 and 4,000. So that's really a lot tighter than we've had for gold in times past. But dips are still buys. Mixed bag in terms of momentum. Very mixed bag in terms of momentum. So wait for the dip. Right now we're ping-ponging between the regular moving averages, but we are under the VWAP. And so we've got a tight trend line here. Once again, if we break it, that number's about 4,027. It's going to give us some more updraft, right? If we lose the edge, the anchored VWAP from yesterday is 3,990. And then the VWAP from the formation of time is just below it. But look at all this, right? So you want to be super careful if it loses that put support ledge. Just wait for it to recapture the zone, and then you're going to run in the right spot, right? Absolutely. You're going to run in the right spot with 39.50 being the floor that I would want you to watch. Let me see if I can get this one up here, right? 39.50. Value area low, 3,930. Upward pressure event, 4,064. Next gamma lines, the pocket would be 74 and then 4,100. Right? 4,074 and then 4,100. As you can see, we're in a great big sideways formation. I'm going to leave this trend line here one more day, just in case we end up coming down to 3,970. That's going to give us the next potential bounce, okay? But you want to be really careful. It could be very noisy moving downward into that space. I still believe low edges are where we're off to. Puts, very far away. I do want to look at Bitcoin simply because it is in a space where liquidity it's still showing up at these support floors, right? Yesterday it came into 106,000 and then in the overnight it gapped up and it's still moving. Take a look at where price action is compressing here. We have, oh, for goodness sakes, we have this ledge. I mean, I like it that these things snap to grid, except when they snap to the grid, I don't want them to snap to. This is the line I'm looking for, right? 111,600, 109,000. So we have $2,000 of movement potentially moving to this area, and we are in good shape, right? Very nice sideways pressure events. Dips or buys, right? Not a place to sell just yet. And the dip buying gets confirmed if, let me see if I can find a trend line going here. Nope. We could use that one, but I don't like it. Let's choose this one. See if this one arcs a bit better. We do have a trend line break right here based on this particular line. So if it holds and breaks, notice speed without distance outside, the break out. You could chase that if you wanted to, but I would much rather wait for 109,800 and give it a go there. Lastly, let's take a look at SPY. SPY holding tight. So interesting, I don't know if you guys saw this in the news, but Netflix is going to make a bid for Warner Brothers Studios. So, I mean, they are really trying to compete with Amazon on a very big stage, which I find to be incredibly interesting. Here we are. Here's our trend line. We are testing it right now. Same levels from yesterday. Same pockets. Right? We are caught in the same box as yesterday's trading. So we could say in range, in value of the day before. Upward pressure events give us 687 to 688. Anchored VWAP tests above $687.35. Anchored VWAP below $683. Put support $680. We tested it yesterday and then rocketed right off of that zone into the earnings events, which were quite bullish. So if we were just looking at the chart, we've got a huge gap up from pre-market event. So gap fill might not be out of the question. Here's my thought. If we lose the VWAP at $684.34, I would suspect that we're going to try and fill this gap. Hard to say because everything is in a mosh pit of trading. However, that seems pretty likely. Now, here's the flip side. Most all of the momentum is bullish. We are above the VWAP. We're making higher lows, and we're about to test this trend line break. So a move up and then a pullback down that holds 685, you're off to the races. Now, you could say, hey, I'm buying that 685. If it holds, great. If it doesn't, I get stopped out. That's how you trade that commentary if it holds. You take the risk and participate in the trade, or you take the risk and it fails. One way or the other. Waiting for it to prove out that it holds increases the risk size, but it could give you exactly what you want, right? Telescope in to tighter time frames and you'll be able to see what's going on. All right, that's it for me, folks. I'll see you on the streams. You know, I've got the Benzinga Pro show and, of course, VIP Hive. We've got a meeting this morning, trading the open. Lots going on. Take care, and I'll see you soon.